Hi guys, and welcome to today's SEMrush webinar. I'm in Iceland, in the middle of an airport, so apologies for that, but you get to see something different for a change. But today we are joined by the very famous Peter Nikolow, or Nikolow, however you pronounce that, in Bulgaria. I just call him Nikolow because it looks like that when you spell it out. But we're going to be talking about the log file analyzer tool today, and I don't think there's anyone better and more in-depth in the technical sense than Peter. So thank you for coming on, Peter. For anyone who doesn't know you, can you just give the audience a bit of a background about what you do and things like that?
So my name is Peter Nikolow, actually, but you can tell me just Peter if you like it. So with my company, we work just on technical SEO analysis or building mobile responsive websites or building the applications. So I built my first website like over 22 years ago when I was 97 years in university, and I'm some kind of part of the old generation of the one of the pioneers of the internet. So log file analysis today is one of the old and forgotten thing that we should educate new marketers about that, because it's really important to know what's happening in your website. So thanks for joining.
Perfect, thank you. As I say, Peter is someone I've met several times, very in-depth knowledge. He also plays himself down, talks at a lot of events and stuff like that as well. So superb guy to have on the show. So thanks again, Peter, for coming on. So while we're just waiting for people to come on board, have you got any up and coming speaking events or anything like that happening, or any good new projects you're working on?
So right now I'm working on analysis of a large website that it's technically built over almost 20 years ago. So there are a lot of information, lot of stuff, lot of developers, but actually they are a little bit in trouble because, you know, updates, mobile websites, responsive websites, and the shift of user has been changed. And the size of this website is it's relevant, hard to be understand what's actually going on inside. For example, they switched to HTTPS like 1 year ago, and it's still trouble for Google to find the information from part of that website, and it's hard situation for them.
Cool. No, it sounds like an interesting project. I know you like getting deep down into all the kind of technical things, but 20 years old's a website that is very old, so I'm sure there's going to be a lot of
website is built even before Google exists, when where was Yahoo or Alta Vista or
something like that. Yeah, to hell with that. They should have updated that a long time ago, but I'm sure you'll do a grand job of that. So
thank you.
Anything else? If you get any other up and coming speaking events or anything like that, or are you not doing much of that anymore?
I think I was thinking this year to make a little bit vacation from speaking, because it's a little bit exhausted to move from space to place to talk to people, because you need to prepare with something, to get a fresh content, fresh information, to explain how the things, a little bit networking with them. And this is a little bit exhausting for all the speakers, because that time that you need to invest for each even small speak, it's very high. For example, today I was presenting a presentation from this webinar, and it took me like 5 to 10 hours just to prepare everything to be working and to be perfect. That investment in time is too high, and this year I think a little bit to take a little bit party or retirement from that. I hope that I'm not alone, by the way, in this, because many people has a little bit exhausted in speaking or presenting and things like that.
Yeah, I think I can relate to that very much so. So yeah, I hate doing slides, the amount of time it takes and stuff. But yeah, anyway, So that's all good. So what we'll do is we'll crack on with the webinar. So what I'll do first of all, guys, is just give you a brief overview of where to find the tool and what you can do with the tool. Then we'll come to Peter, who will go into a lot more detail on things, including server logs and why you want to look at them and stuff like that. So I'm going to start sharing my screen just now. So first things first, where do you find the log file analyzer? So anyone who logs in, you see up in the top left hand corner here, you'll see a tab called SEO Toolkit. So if you just go on to SEO Toolkit, it will open up all the SEO tools. Sorry, I've clicked on something by mistake, but you can see all the different tools there, and you will be able to see log file analyzer down at the bottom here. So if you just click on that, that opens up the tool. You can also see the URL up top there. So it's a new tool, and it's something that, I'm not the most technical SEO guy in the world. I'm sure someone like Peter, knows about all of these kind of things. I know log files are important, but what I'm not is a kind of server guy. And what I think SEMrush have brought to the table is being able to read this information in a nice, clean, easy to understand format, rather than the previous way where people were reading server logs and in the format that they were actually pulled from the server from. So this is the kind of main dashboard that you've got here. Now, I've uploaded stuff several months ago when I was testing out the tool, and this is just what happens when you upload. So you upload your log file here, but before I tell you where to upload it, where do you get your log file is more important. And you can see here on the URL there, hopefully someone can share that with the guys on the chat. What is an access log and where do you find it? Now, most people will have cPanels and stuff like that, and what you normally do is go into your file manager, and it tells you all the rest of the instructions here, and you basically download the log files there. And then what you do is come back to SEMrush and go to the green button here and just click upload log file, and you would just upload that in here, and it takes a few minutes for all of that to pull through, and then you'll be faced with this dashboard, and it's going to show you the period that you've uploaded, so you can get your last 30 days log files or whatever log files you want to get, upload them, and then you can analyze them using this great tool. So first things first, you can look at all Google bots, or you can look at the Google desktop or the Google smartphone. It's really, up to yourself. Obviously, you want to understand where your traffic comes from first and foremost, but obviously what we can see here is the kind of hits that Google's bots are having on my particular website. And what you want to also be able to see is this kind of status code. So when Google are hitting the website, what status codes are they being served with? So 3XX could be redirect, 4XX is bad, 2XX is fine. So you want to make sure that you've got plenty of those green lines on there for anyone who's not technical. And it will also show you, if you click on file type here, whether it's PHP file, image file, CSS, HTML, other, or JavaScript. So you can see over here on the right-hand side a nice kind of coloured graph of what's going on here. But more importantly, what you want to see here is the kind of hits by pages here. So we can see here that the crawl frequency of the WP content folder on my particular website is the one that gets the most hits. It gets, it gets hit it's the one that's hit most frequent, and when it was last crawled. So what you want to be doing here is analysing the crawl frequency when the pages were last being crawled, and also the status as well. Obviously, you want a 200 status for pages that are live on your website. In most cases, obviously, you'll have 301 redirects, but obviously you want to eliminate any 404s or whatever else you may find here. So you can basically scroll through all the kind of URL structures there, and you'll be able to see, my SEMrush tutorial, for example. has been hit 39 times by Google's bot in the last 30 days, or those 30 days, and it was being hit every 18 hours. So the deeper into my website, the less frequent the Google bot's hitting the pages, so to speak. So that's all of my pages. What we've also got here is inconsistent status codes. So what you want to have a look at here is, for example, the last time Googlebot crawled that page, there was a 404 error. But if I click on that little icon, it will tell me that there was a 301 there, it was a 404, it was a 301. So there's something strange going on with that particular URL, and it's something obviously I want to address and understand what's going on there. So you want to make sure that you've not got inconsistent status codes. There should be no real valid reason for that. I'm sure Peter can correct me if I'm wrong with that. But you've also got all your kind of filtering options here that you get with most SEMrush tools as well. So you can filter by path, last status code, and file types as well. So if you just want to look at the HTML files, just make sure that you select all there, unless you're looking for inconsistent ones. But yeah, so there's 405 HTML status codes there that you can have a look at as well. So it's quite a simple and easy to use tool, and it's something you probably should be checking on a regular basis. It's one thing, you know, getting people onto your website and stuff like that, and people obsess over UX and various other things. But if Google's bots can't really get in about your website, then you've got a massive problem. You're not going to get people onto your website. So it's something that is really, really important, and something that people can now do with ease by uploading your log files here. You can also export the data here if you're wanting to feed that back to people or whatever. So you've got the opportunity to export the data there on the usual button on the right hand side there. And yeah, so that is pretty much the tool in a nutshell, and it doesn't do anything fancy. It just allows you to analyze your log files in a much more user-friendly way, certainly from my point of view anyway. I know a guy like Peter can read code and stuff like that, but you know, that's something that's out with my skill level. So that is the tool in a nutshell. You can ask questions about the tool specifically. There is two of SEMrush's customer success team in the chat, so they can answer any questions about the tool specifically. But what we're going to do now is I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to let the experts come in and take over. So I've given people the brief, you know, outline of how the tool works and what buttons you press. But Peter, if you want to carry on and show the guys how it all really works and all the kind of knowledge that you've got.
Yes, thank you very much. So I'm starting with sharing a screen for presentation I just prepared today about that. It's called Let's Make Log File Analysis Great Again. So as I explained in past, there wasn't analytics, and like over 10 years ago, we make analysis of websites just based on log files. But today, with rise of analytics kind of software, most of people forgot to see that, and right now they're return to log file analysis. And this is a little bit funny because a lot of people, a lot of experts do this from day one. So what is the today actual problem why people are returned to log file analysis? It's Google Search Console, old version, you know, will be trash very soon. And that was very famous crawl errors that most people use it. And today crawl errors explain that you should use a new index coverage report. Before, there was errors for Googlebot Desktop, Googlebot Mobile, and Newsbot. Newsbot was removed, and today Googlebot Desktop and Googlebot for mobile phones are also out. So you can't see anything anymore here. So what this is important? Important is because there are 3 ways to communicate with Google. with good, with bad, and the ugly. What is that HTTP status code that you need to know? The good HTTP status code is 200. This is mean OK, or 3 or 4. This means that file is not modified. That is the status code that Google should expect from your website, also your users. So 200, just return the file. And 3 or 4 is actually Google like that, but not many people know, because this actually save bandwidth for Google. Here is explained. I make a call to my website and get a one page, and it return 200. Okay, so everything is fine. But what if Google make a separate call and tell me if non-match with that ID that can be seen here in e-tag, then my website return 3 or 4, not modified. And that's all. That's why Google loves to see that in websites. Unfortunately, just a static website can return that. And if you have a dynamic web page with dynamic website with some kind of CMS like WordPress, Joomla, Drupal, or some kind of e-commerce, you can get this status code, which is shame from them. What are bad status codes? Bad status codes, actually, they are not really bad, but if they see often in some kind of website, this can be sign of very serious trouble. There are redirects, 3 or 1, that should be used only, but some people use it 3 or 2. This is not a good redirect. Actually, you must use 3 or 1. Actually, 4 or 4, which means page not found, or 503, which means service unavailable. That status codes are not really bad, but for example, if 19% of websites return 404 or 503, this is clear sign for Google that something disaster happened to that website, and they start to aggressively in 404 or in not so aggressive in 503 to crawl that website. Actually, if you return 503, Google see that your website has been hit with some kind of lot of requests and start to crawl website a little bit slower than before, because it's in some kind of rush. And ugly status codes that you should never return to Google or to any kind of other bot. This is redirects like 3 or 7 or 3 or 8, which is a redirect you shouldn't be used to return to Google. This is also 401. This require user authentication, HTTP password. Another that you should never return to Google is 403. This is forbidden. It's forbidden to be crawling, to be displayed. Also, another very bad, it's 410, which means that page is gone. And 5000, that means internal server error. You should never return that to Google, and you should observe your web's log file, what's actually going on here. So let's see how to get a status code. You must get the status code. One of easiest way is to use the curl. Curl is command line application that you can use in this way. For example, I'm opening on my Mac. You type curl I to get a result code, http www.mobiliodevelopment.com. That's That's it. My website return 200. Okay, so it's perfect. Let's see another file like test.me blah, whatever. That web page doesn't exist. Right now, it's returned, not found. So I'm also opening and analyzing of my website, and I can see that right now. Here is it. That's my request. No, that's web server monitor. That's me. That's my request to that page, like test me blah or things like that. So they're here. So what is the actual problem with that? Actual problem is when you get that a huge web log files that Craig showed you from cPanel, you must edit it. So what is actual situation? For example, here is one of my log files, which is over 7 megabytes in size. And here is it in context. So I can see the IP, date and time, get, URL that need to be get. Here is the return code, how many bytes are transferred, and user. And this is endless file because it have a few thousand lines. So that file have almost very long file, and you can't access it very good. So some of people do that, for example, with importing to Excel, and I'll show you how to do. So you open in Excel, you select a blank workbook, you're going to data, get external data, import from text file, you select one of text file, that's important, you click to get data, you select delimited, that's important, and select a space. That is very important. Here to select a space, you just click the finish, type an OK, and here is that's my access log file imported to Excel. So right now I can do some kind of analysis here. For example, remove that that data that doesn't need and to be shown. But it's very large, and for example, if you have a very large file, your Excel can be broke because this is a lot of data. That's why some people make some kind of comments, for example, for easy analyzing that. So that's comment right now will show me a list of status codes. I was running it, and here is it. So here is it. Right now, it returned how many times my website return pages here, how many times there is some kind of redirect, how many times there are page not for or authorizations or page not modified, or things like that. But this is for everything. This means for all users, for all bots, for all back bots, for all scrappers, for a Facebook bot, for Twitter bot, or anything. So we need some kind of easier way to filter all situation. That's why you can make some kind of easier. For example, you need just to grab a Google bot result, and we open it here. We type grab and this returns just what kind of my document is just from Google bot. But it's actually too much of information, and a lot of people don't know how to use it because it's really boring. But I'm one of that guy who do this almost every day. So what Google say about that? By the way, this is a very important. John Mueller say URL that are more popular on the internet tend to be crawled more often to keep them fresher in our index. And they also say, yes, internal links do impact crawl budget through a crawl demand. So if you're a little bit bored, let's continue on log file analysis. So just like Craig, I import yesterday actual log files in my in SEMrush log analyzer. So I'm joining here and select the all the time, and I can select the all the bots because right now I'm expect everything. So what is the first problem? I can open and I can see that some of results come with some kind of warning. He told me that this resource is inconsistent status codes. What this means? So this is my home page because it's just a slash. I'm opening here. I'm opening just to see what is the error. I can see Fourier 1 2000, Fourier 1 2000. So one of quick thing that you must open here is to return to command line and type curl HTTPS, and let's see that URL. Okay, we can see that there is a redirect to HTTP version because my website doesn't have an HTTPS version. And right now we try to opening the same URL with HTTP, and we can see 200 talk. So what this mean? This means that one time for same URL we can see 301, and the other side we can see 200 OK. And that's why SEMrush local analyzer told me, okay, this status code is inconsistency, and 42% mean that Googlebot desperate to try to index my website through an HTTPS. But since my website doesn't have an working HTTPS version, we redirect to the HTTP version, and he's indexed the HTTP version. So that doesn't mean that here we have some kind of problem, but he showed me that something interesting happens. Another situation is like here. So we have a that page with code ads.txt that my website doesn't have such file. That is it's crawled on every 5 hours, and that page is constantly returning 404, 301, 404, 301. So right now we know why 301 happens, but we can see that 401 means that page doesn't exist, and we must know because I don't run ads. So next, if you open that and scroll to the bottom, scroll, yes, more. Okay, that's it. You can see that I have pages that are loaded once per 1 month. There are some kind of pages that are loaded once for every 2 weeks. And that is very interesting because 2 weeks mean that for 1 month, that file is crawled 3 times. And this means for Google that page isn't very important, because another pages, for example, like this in folder products, that web page is crawled once on every 6 hours. So this clearly showing for me that this page is much very important than a page on below, because pages on below that is crawled for every month, for example, like this one, for example, digitalization, that web page is crawled just once, and it's not good. If you have a such situation, you must open the second. You must open that. Where is it? If you have a such situation, you must open an excellent optimize your internal linking with site audit. That article will explain how to optimize your internal linking. Once you optimize your internal linking, that web page must be crawled a little bit better than before, for example, like every 2 days or every few hours, because that's we need to know. Here we can see web pages with inconsistent status codes. so they're okay. And for example, if you have a lot of redirects, you can filter them just with pages with redirects, and you can see them. You can optimize, for example, and also you can optimize just for 404 client errors, because if you have a 404, it's not actually very good for your site, because if you made a migration and if you make URL optimizations, for example, you can delete a very important page, and right now that page to return 404, but you didn't know because you updated the URLs, and that page can be lost forever. So that is very important to see. And what is much very important is to be sure that your website never return error like 5000 to the because there are server errors to go to the Google. Right now on my log files, I don't have a server log files. Don't have a server errors, which is good, but I have some kind of client errors, and right now I can optimize them, for example, to redirect to existing pages, just to crawling a little bit link juice, for example. Some of them actually are not issues because we have for example, in WordPress, you can open like VP content. If you delete them, WordPress will return. WordPress can return some kind of error. Okay, here is it. I have a forbidden. This means that web page can be seen, but since I'm on folder, I have a directory listing denied, and that is okay for Google because this is actually error from them and prevent that page to be shown. And this is a redirection. If you open them, you can see that, for example, one of my web page is crawled too much on every 3 days, and every time it's return 401. So I just opening, here is it, and here is that. Yes, it doesn't exist. So I can open it. I can put it here. And I can see that web page. This is the web page. It doesn't exist because it's redirected with 401 to another location. Here is it. Here is another location. But if we open it here, we can see that Google every time on every 3 days is trying to index that page. So right now I can disable that. I'm going to the products. It's called a pharma code encoder. And I can see that web page actually that web page exists because it's returned 2000 OK. On almost on every day, that web page is being crawled from Google because it's very important. Right now, I need to open some kind of on-page optimizer and check what links on my website contain link to the old web page and edit it in WordPress to the new web page to just to spend the Google to closing that on that redirect, and this will help this web page to get better hits and to be improvement my crawling budget. And actually that is on this product. So you have two choices. First choice is to dig into that log files or statistics or things like that. Second way is to use an Excel and to make that analysis, but can be bored. And third, and much easier way for you is to open a SEMrush log file analyzer, to put your websites and let SEMrush do the dirty job and show you what is really important. What is that file? How many times has been hit? What is his crawl frequency? What is last status error codes? Where you have a status codes inconsistent, like redirects 2000 OK or things like that, and how for example to make very good and quickly triggering for client errors or for server errors. Also, you can see for how many times your images has been requested, like JPEG or PNGs. I can see just this, and this is a very easy for everyone to be used. And we should applaud SEMrush for building this extraordinary tool. And that's all for me.
Perfect, Peter. Thank you for an excellent in-depth description of how it all works. I'm sure people already have been asking for the slides and stuff like that, so I'm sure people will watch back and go over what you've done there. So very good and very in-depth, as we would always expect from you anyway. But it's now time for questions and answers, guys. So make sure that you do get your questions in the YouTube chat or whatever, and we'll get those questions answered for you. They don't have to relate to log file analysis. We can talk about other things relating to SEO or whatever it may be. And if any of you guys do have any kind of product specific questions, the guys from SEMrush are in the chat as well, so they'll be able to answer any kind of product specific questions. But I've got some questions here for you, Peter. So this one's from Andy Simpson. So he's asking, when you first import a log file and see the data displayed, what are the first things you look and scan for, and what sets off alarm bells in the data?
For me, everything is important, but it's much more important for you to open that log file analyzer. I will join again on screen sharing. Just a second to find that. So, okay, I'm opening. So what is very important once you open that, when you import your files, is to see a status codes. So for example, in that website, over 16% of status codes are 200. That is perfect. So there are like 28% that is 300, and some things like are 400. That is very important for quality of site. If your website is good, you will see a lot of 200. But if your website have some kind of crawlability issues or indexing issues or things like that, you will see that 300 and 400 or even 500 will be very high level. Probably I have seen that website where combined them is for over 50%. And just imagine how desperate Googlebot is trying to find something in your website to be indexed, but your website is throwing to a redirect chains or redirects or file not found or some kind of server errors or things like that. That is very important once you opened to see that status code, and also to check what's going on here by dates on status code. So I can see here the things are very similar. But if we have some kind of unexpected server shutdown or things like that, you can see that for 1 day or 2 days, you can see a rise of them. And that is okay, because let's say you can upgrade the server software, you can shut down server software, upgrade CMS, and this can be a reason from that. But for example, if you see a rise of data errors on someday, this could be, for example, indication for some kind of attack or things like that, or also can be that someone is trying to attack your web server, and that is definitely not good for you.
Perfect, Peter. Great answer. If I'm answering it, I'm looking at status codes and crawl frequency, but I'm not the kind of server log specialist in any way. I just want to make sure that the pages that I want to be crawled frequently are, being found. That's most important for me, and obviously the kind of status codes are important to me as well. So yeah, and obviously it's good to hear Peter also looks for that, so at least I'm on the right track when it comes to that. So other questions. We've got a question here from Brian Reiser. So he's saying it's about redirects. So let's say he wanted to delete all the articles related to a particular category on his WordPress website, and there are a few thousand articles. That would create a lot of 301 redirects. But how should he handle that?
Well, there are a few ways to delete articles from website. First way is just to delete and let the WordPress return 404. So that is also possible. For example, if you need to definitely trash something and to tell the Google that this never will exist anymore on a website. But if you need to for example, use that links or rankings, or just to keep that Google to regularly cloud that website, you can redirect, and you can make the redirect links between your articles, or even you can make a redirect between some category to another category, which is very good. And yes, this will create a lot of 301 redirects and that will be in your log file. And unfortunately, you should live with that. Just temporarily, Google will crawl that and will see redirects, and later he will know that that web page isn't anymore exist because it's redirected, and just or later, just a little bit with some kind of much larger delay, that web page will be scanned for some kind of change.
Perfect. Thank you for answering that, Peter. We've got a question from Bio Lan. So Bio is saying, I've got a 404 from a CSS file on WordPress website. How would he handle that?
Well, it's important to handle that because right now Google, there are few versions of Google. First version of Google just trying to get the HTML file and to scan it. But today we have a much improved version of Google that is crawl the HTML file, later scan that CSS or JavaScript file, try to render that HTML file, and once HTML file is rendered, tend to be rescanned again. So you must check that CSS file, what is caused, for example, do you have a link from your website, or for example, you have an external link from any other sites that point to this CSS file to be indexed. If you have an internal settings, you must edit it and avoid that. But if this some kind of external link, for example, from external website, you need to leave that because you can't edit anymore.
Thank you again, Peter. So the next question is from William Rock. Hello, William. Long time no see. Is there a quick way to find referrer info for old links going to 404 to help update those external links to drive them to the right location?
Yes and no. This is a very complicated issue today, because if you have links from old links from inside of your website, you can use some kind of crawler and just to crawl your website. Even some SEMrush have a similar tool and see what links return 404. But for example, if you have a link from external website, for one of those link builders, make a lot of them. Unfortunately, you need to open some kind of link analysis from external links, for example, from Search Console. I think that SEMrush also have a similar tool, and to see what are your sites point to your website, and just to see what is that cause that 404 links. And by the way, this is a topic of another question that is, it's called broken links link building, that is also covered on SEMrush blog, and you should do that.
Yeah, broken link building's a quick, easy one that I take advantage of, sadly. But so I just want to go back. So Karina is asking if they understood right. Did you just confirm that it's okay to leave tons of pages returning a 404 error instead of redirecting them all to a 301? Can you just confirm that whether that's what you actually said or not?
Yes, this is actually can be explained quick. For example, let's see if if I have some kind of products or some kind of articles that won't be covered anymore, won't be important, won't be sold, won't be discussed, or things like that. How to deal with them? So one of way is to return 404. For example, let's see, what if I'm importing some kind of old laptops, like, for example, Apple Macintosh Power Mac with Power PC processors that wasn't produced more than 10 years ago, over 10 years ago, won't be produced anymore, won't be sold, they're unsupported, and that's it. So what if you have an e-commerce that sell that laptops? So you can't leave them anymore. And it's good to leave them with 404, because this means to Google, okay, this doesn't exist anymore, and you can delete. But on the other side, what if you have some kind of product that is updated with a new product, and you have a new URL? For example, you have one of those, for example, Apple Macintosh MacBook Air release 2015 and release 2018, because 2015 anymore wasn't be sold. You can make the redirect to 2018 or 2019, for example, model. So that's a very different questions, and unfortunately there isn't a one-size-fits-all solution that you can quickly implement. So in one case, 404 is good. In the other case, 401 is also good. But you must decide how to do individually with them and to implement that. So everything is possible, everything is good, but you must decide with that.
So Peter, I've got a part to add to that, because I would probably disagree with that. Well, or just what my understanding is. I would always, and it's replicating what Meg is saying in the chat there as well. I had an e-commerce customer years ago, and they lost a lot of products. A lot of products were discontinued, and what we found was that we done this, it was serving a 404 error. The products were gone, but they get jammed in Google's index, and Google, the bot was still crawling and indexing those 404s, and they wouldn't shift. So we had to put on a 410 status code to eliminate that problem, because obviously you don't want to waste crawl budget crawling 404 errors. That's a waste of crawl budget, in my opinion. So would you not potentially just put a 410 on a product that was just discontinued rather than just leaving a 404?
Yes, but as I said before, this must be checked individually for every site. And one of best error that you can move is that to use some kind of plugins for WordPress that is redirect to a homepage if there is 404. This is a very catastrophic failure, because then Google doesn't know what page doesn't exist and what page actually exists to Google. And there is another issue that can be went like software for error, and it's much. So you went from small trouble to some kind of large trouble. That's why I say it's everyone must decide individually for every site how to deal. Do redirects or do 404s.
Cool, no worries. Thanks for clarifying that. The next question is from Paolo Taka. He's saying this tool's been basically sitting under his nose the whole time. So he's saying, let's say he has a website with 1,000 pages. Should he focus his efforts into a page that Google crawls more often or not? What's going to provide the best results?
Can you repeat it?
So he's basically asking, say this guy's got a website with 1,000 pages. Should he focus more of his time and effort onto a page that gets crawled more often, or should they be focusing on pages that don't get crawled as often? What provides better results?
I think that is also a tricky question. It's good to be checked why some web page doesn't crawl often, because that page that doesn't crawl often, this means that information here is not that page is not very important, and information here can be a little bit delayed. I will show that in log file analysis. Just a second to switch to the screen share. So can you see it? Can you see my screen?
Yeah. All
yeah.
Good.
So for example, that web page are crawled on every 6 hours, and I have a web page that is crawled on every. Just a second to load it. Yeah, that is very important. Something like that. Yeah, so that web page is crawled once per month, that web page. So right now, if I'm opening analytics, you can see that web page almost doesn't receive clicks in Google. He doesn't receive impressions in Search Console, and actually it's not very important for a website. So if I have a similar situation, I will start to editing that website to be update. This means to update the content inside, to make some kind of better, some kind of images, like, you know, one of those on-page SEO optimization. And this definitely will help Google to see that web page is much more important for Google, and that web page will receive a little bit more from them and a little bit more clicks. But actually, this is also a tricky question, because, for example, what if I wrote from something that is very important but doesn't receive a lot of interest today? For example, what if I making some kind of winter holidays today, because winter is gone here, and people right now are searching for summer holidays or things like that. So this also can be tricky, because some of them have how this is pronounced correctly, to, for example, like vacation, you know, there are summer vacation or winter vacation. So what if we have a similar issue? You must check in analytics how your web page is getting visited, because this can be visited a little bit in different time, different months, or even different year. So the good is, without this information, you don't have to see analytics for that website, because this is much better than analytics, for example.
Perfect. And what I would add to that as well is, if there's a page there that does generate you money and it's intended to rank well and it's not getting crawled frequently, that's something you can get a quick result from if you maybe do the right internal linking structure or better that content. So as Peter says, it's quite a hard question to answer. Don't just focus your efforts solely based on the fact that a page actually gets crawled more often, because that page might not be the one that gets the most search volume or the one that can rank the quickest. So hopefully that answers your question. What are the most common things you come across when you're analysing log files in terms of problems? What do you find most often?
What is more important is to keep Google to receive the right content. This means almost zero redirects, minimum redirects if there is possible, minimum client errors like 404 or things like that, almost zero server-side errors like 543 or 500, because there can be they can effectively nuke your website. So it's important to update your website to just important files. That is very important to Google, because if you pass Google to some kind of redirect chain like page A redirect to page B, then to page C, then to page D, then to page E, then to another website, this is Google start to losing trust to your website and start to visit your website less and less often, and this means also in your rankings or things like that. So that is important, just to return the most important things first.
Cool. So the next question is, how often would you recommend analysing your server logs?
Well, honestly, on my personal website, I do this almost daily. For example, to check what kind of I will check my screen, for example, and here is it. I'm using this is called webmin, and every day I'm coming here. I'm check what kind of 404 errors was happened, and you can see something is trying to get that ADS file, and you can see something is called to PHP websites, for example, VP content uploads or things like that. Something is trying desperately to check the another version of this website. So this is very important, because you can see a HUD of your website very quick, for example, and you can see if you have some kind of attack. For example, I can check what kind of ESP files was trying to be crawled. You can see someone is trying to check this my website, come one of that pages, but this definitely, this is some kind of scrapper, and he see from security vulnerabilities of my website, and they're trying to abuse me. But my website doesn't have an ESP, that's why I'm in safe. But I can do, for example, vp login.php, and I can see them. Also, I can see a lot of attack. Every day, someone's trying to log on my WordPress, but actually they can't. So it's good to have almost every day a very quick check from your website for quick halt. But if you need to make in-depth analysis, it's good to make this almost every week or every 2 weeks in SEMrush Analyzer, just to see what's going on your website in terms of technical details.
Excellent, Peter. Sadly, we are out of time now. That is the end of the webinar. So thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Peter, for being on and giving away all those good tips and information. We will be back in a few weeks' time with another webinar. But for now, it is goodbye, and thanks for all the questions, and hopefully we answered them all. So thanks again, guys.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Peter, thank you.